Hey guys, I'm going to be talking about how a full stack application works, how data flows between each component, and when I'm talking about full stack here, I have a React front end, an Express server, and a PostgreSQL database. But this is very general and would work with any kind of front end, back end, and database. Now there's way more ways you can complicate this with other things, but this is the basics, and this is how a lot of websites work. So they'll have their front end, for example React, and what it will do is it'll be rendering the view. What you see on the screen is React, and whenever it wants to get data or maybe change something, what it will do is it'll communicate with the server. That's our first arrow here, and when it had to communicate with the server, what it will do is it'll make a GET, POST request, or a different kind. There's delete, update, and a couple more. But the most often what you'll be doing is doing a GET request or a POST request. Now these are HTTP requests, and it's how you talk to Express. And most of the time what you'll do is you'll actually send JSON data to Express and say, hey Express, this is what I want you to do. And Express knows what to do based on the JSON you send it or the route you go to. So you can go to different URLs on the server, and the server knows how to handle it. Now this is a little different with GraphQL, but we'll get to that later. So once Express knows that you want to do something, React told it by making a HTTP request. Express now knows exactly what to do, and what it will do is it'll actually make a SQL statement and call the database to actually either get the data or modify the data in whatever way. So whatever React told Express to do, Express maybe they'll do some authentication to make sure they're a right user, and they'll go ahead and do the request if they're authenticated and everything's properly formatted, and it'll make the request to do that on, grab the data from the database, update the database in some way. So they'll write a SQL statement if it's SQL, or if it's Mongo or NoSQL, they'll write some kind of query statement to grab the data. And then PostgreSQL will send the data back, or the database will send the data back to Express. Express might format the data, and it'll send it back to React. And then React renders the screen. And it just goes around and around and around like that. So as you navigate through a website, when React needs something from the database, maybe it needs some data, maybe it needs to change something in the database, it'll make a request to the server, and then the server updates the database, and then the server sends back data for React to update the screen and notify whether the request succeeded, or because sometimes it can fail. Sometimes you make a request and Express says bad, and it'll go back to React and be like, hey, something went wrong, sorry, we couldn't do your request. And then React can handle this on the front end and view whatever you see and make sure everything looks good. So that's kind of the basics of how a full stack application works. Now I'm going to talk real quick about how GraphQL changes this up. So GraphQL would sit right here, I would say, and right here. It's like it takes the data that Express, it does two things. It handles the incoming data and the outgoing data. So you could think of it as kind of the logic that in Express to help format the data and to format what the request looks like that React sends it. So remember earlier how I was telling you there's different URLs you can go to, and the server will act differently. With GraphQL, you usually have one server, and the JSON you send from React changes how the GraphQL does. So React will send some JSON, and different JSON that React sends, it'll always send it to the same endpoint, but GraphQL will do different things with it. GraphQL will actually format the data, and it won't format the data, but you basically in GraphQL you say a specific schema that you want, and it expects the data in that format. You could say it validates the format. That's a better way to say it. Or validates the data. It makes sure it's in a proper format. And then once it's in a proper format, you can then, you still build the SQL statement. And then you get the data back. GraphQL might do some little bit of formatting and validating that the data it gets back from the database is correct, and it sends it back to React. So GraphQL basically helps validate the data in Express, and also have only one URL you have to go to instead of going to multiple. So that is how a full stack application works. Please let me know in the comments below if you have any other questions or comments, and let me know what you guys think of this. If you guys like to build things in a different manner, or how you guys build your full stack applications. I'd love to hear it. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.